rolling here. So, hi everyone. My name is Nathan Piccini, and I am one of the marketing managers at Data Science Dojo. Um, today, today I have um, Irene Diomi here with me. She is a data analyst and Tableau ambassador based in London. And we're really excited to have her do a crash course on designing a dashboard in Tableau. For this crash course, there will be a certificate of attendance if that is something you would like to receive. At the end of the webinar, probably right before we start doing the last session for Q&A, we will release that form to you all, and you can fill out the form, and you'll receive a certificate in your inbox before the end of the day today. For Q&A, if you're in Zoom, please use that the Q&A tab. Helps us, specifically by us, I mean me, helps me keep everything organized. We'll be doing Q&A intermittently throughout the day today, the webinar today. So if you have questions, feel free to just ask them when you have them, and we'll make sure to stop and answer those questions. And yeah, I think that's everything I have. So Irene, why don't you go ahead and get started, and then everything will go great.
Okay, thank you, Nathan. So my name is Irene Demi, and I'm a Tableau ambassador. So today we're going to see how we can create a business dashboard. And so our agenda for today, we're going to go through how to create a line chart, a bar chart, a map, and finally, we're going to combine those sheets into a dashboard. So we're going to recreate a business dashboard that I previously done, but we're going to first focus on the line chart, bar chart, and map. So Fatima, feel free to also share the link to the visualization so you can have a look at how it looks like within Tableau Public. I'm just going to wait 20 seconds for everyone to see that dashboard, and then we're going to carry on. I'm just going to share it on the screen, but you can also click on the link to get the version, the public version. Okay, so let's get started with Tableau. So I'm just going to open my Tableau desktop. And the first thing we notice when we open Tableau desktop, on the left-hand side, we get our connect. And this is where we have the ability to connect to a file. For example, we could connect to Microsoft Excel, a text file, JSON file, and so on. We also have the ability to connect to a server via a Tableau desktop. And at the bottom, we also have some saved data sources. And one of the data sources that we're going to use today is Sample Superstore. You can also see on my screen, I have some dashboard that are appearing in my screen. And this is as just some of the dashboards I worked on. Then at the bottom here, we have the sample workbooks. So those are provided by Tableau Desktop. And this gives you a good idea of what you can do within Tableau. So if you have the time, feel free to check them out, your sample workbooks. And then on the left and on the right-hand side here, we have some training materials that are provided by Tableau. So if you have the time as well, feel free to check them out. They're really great resources to get started with Tableau. Okay, so the first thing we want to do once we have Tableau open is just to then click on Sample Superstore, which is the data set that we're going to use today. So I'm just going to double click on Sample Superstore, like so. And I'm just going to close this. And yeah, so right now what we're seeing, we have on the left-hand side, we can see the tables within our data sources. So we have, for example, an order table, we have a people table, and so on. But today we're going to focus on our order table. So I'm just going to close my people table like this. And so we have different fields that we're going to use to create our charts. So I'm just going to go to here where we have our data source. I'm just going to click on it. So you can see actually how the data source looks like. So we're using a sample superstore. So it's a fake data set provided by Tableau just to help us learn how to use the software. And then within the data source pane, I can see I have my different fields. So for example, I have the order ID, and I can see that we also have some icons that help us know the type of data that we have. So I can see that my order ID has an ABC icon, so I know it's a string data type. Then we have our order date, and I know because I have this nice calendar icon, I know that it's a date data type. Then we have, for example, we have a globe, and that means that we have a geographical data type. Okay. Then if I go back, you can see on the right, we have, so this is a visual that I've pre-made. So if you open Tableau and you click on your sample superstore, you might not have this visual, but this is just to show you that that's where we're going to create our visualization. It's going to be on here, on our right-hand side. And I'm just going to go through some of the functionality when we open Tableau. So we have, here we have on the left, we have our data. Then here we have our marks card. So you will hear me referring to the marks card during this webinar, and I just mean this rectangle here. And this rectangle here helps us control the feel and look of our visualization. So for example, we can change the color, the size, and we can pick the data, the charts that we want for our visualization. Then we have at the top here, we have our column and rows. And so this is where we're going to click and drag our different fields to create visualization. And at the top, we also have some settings that are going to help us create our different visuals. Okay. So the first thing that I want you to do is to click here. So at the bottom, we have this plus sheet, and I just want you to click on it. So for you, it's going to be sheet 1, but for me, it's sheet 2 because I had this sheet. I'm just going to delete it. Okay, so we have our first sheet, and we said the first thing we're going to create is our line chart. So I'm just going to double click on line chart and just name it line chart like this. Okay. And so to create our line charts, we want to get our order date and our summer cells. So we're going to start with the cells. And so what I'm going to do first is to click on order date and then drag it to my columns just to see what's happened. So if I click and drag my order date to column, you'll notice that order date is in blue, which means that it's discrete. And what I mean by discrete is when I drag it within the visual here, I'm getting some headers. But if I drag, for example, cells, I'm not getting headers, but I'm getting an axis. And this is because cells is a green field. And the difference is a continuous field or green field is a field that can be aggregated. So I can perform an operation on it. So I can sum it, for example. Whereas my order date like this, it's different groups of dates. So for example, I could group 2018 together, 2019, 2020, or 2021. So discrete data are part of different groups, whereas continuous data are data that can be aggregated. Okay, so now I dragged my order date. And so for this part, I also want you to follow along with me, and we're going to create the first line chart. So to do that, we're just going to click on order date. So we just want to right click and drag it to columns like so. And now instead of having my year of order date, I just want to click on this little arrow on the right hand side of my blue pill. And instead of picking year, I'm just going to pick month. And this will allow me to look at all my data, but based on January, February, March, April, May, June, July, and so on. And so next, I'm going to drag my summer cells. And to do that, I'm just going to click and drag it to rows like so. And now I have a line chart. But something else that I can do, I could make this area just below my line chart. I could make my line chart an area chart instead. And to do that, we're just going to duplicate our sum of cells and create a dual axis. So the first thing I want to do is just to go to my sum of cells, and I can just press on Control, or if you are on a Mac, you can press on Command and just add another sum of cells like so. Or something that you could do, you could just grab again your sum of cell and drag it to your rows like this. Then we just want to make sure that we have a dual axis. So we're just going to click on the little arrow on the right. And then we get different options, but we want to go down to dual axis like so. And every time we create a dual axis, we have to make sure that our axis is synchronized. And to do that, I'm just going to left click and ensure that my axis is synchronized. Like so. Perfect. Nice. So now something that we can do is actually remove the information that we don't need. So for example, we already have sum of cell on the left hand side. We don't need it on the right. So we can actually just left click and remove the show header like that. So that now we have only one cells axis with the different values. Something else that we can do to improve the design of our visualization is to remove in the background. So we have those lines, and to remove them, we can just we can left click and go to format. Then within format, we can go to where we have our lines. Just want to click on lines. And whenever we have grid lines, we just want to make sure that we double click none. And we want to do it for the rows as well. And now we can see the line disappeared, but we still have some of those lines, and those are not really necessary, so we can get rid of them. So you just want to go to borders this time, click on sheets, and then where we have our row dividers, we just want to click on none, like so. And column dividers, like so. Nice. We could actually keep one. Nope. Just move this. So we just want to click on none. Okay, perfect. So now we have cleaned our design. I'm just going to close my format borders like so. And so we've made this nice dual axis, but to make it a linear chart, we need to change one of our sum of cells. And so the first one I can see is set to be a line, but I can go to my second sum of cells and change it to an area. Just clicking here. And now I have an area chart. I can also change the color if I wanted to. So we can go to color, and you can pick the color you want, but I'm just gonna pick a nice pink. And I'm also gonna change the opacity to 20%. So again, you just go to color, pick the color you want, and change the opacity to 20%. Like so. Again, now I also want to change the color for my line chart. So I'm just gonna go above here and go to color and change it to a pink as well. Nice. So we have our line chart. I'm just going to also remove that cells on the values here. And to do that, I'm just going to left click and go to edit axis and just remove that title. Like so. And that's done. I can also do it for my order date. I can left click and then hide field labels. Okay. Before we carry on, do we have any question on the line chart or anything I went through?
We do have a couple of questions. The first one I'm gonna pull from the chat because I don't want to lose it, and so they want to know if there's a reason that there's a darker line on the top of the area chart. So I think it's
Yeah,
just a
I think we got rid of it if there
Okay.
was a because that was so the first thing when we open Tableau and we put our different measures, so it's the default formatting of Tableau,
Mm,
but we can change it by just left clicking and going to format, and then we can go to borders and lines, and then we can adapt it as we want. But typically, I think it looks cleaner when we don't have too many lines.
okay. And then there is a question, Kosi. I'm going to save that question for the very end because it's a little longer and I want to make sure we get through everything first. And then, but we will get to your question. Ruby, your question is, what's the reason for the dual axis? I think you deleted it, but was there any reason behind that, or was it just the default chart setting?
So the reason why I wanted to do a dual axis is to actually have this nice area below the line chart. So if I remove it, you see just a line chart. But with the dual axis, we have this area at the bottom. So it's mostly for design preferences, but you can also create different visualization with by using the dual axis method. So if you wanted to create like a bar chart and have a bar in bar, you would use this method as well. But that's not something we're going to cover today.
Okay. And then there was someone asking about whether or not there will be a recording. Mark, yes, there will be a recording. Fatima, if you could throw the website up that the recording is going to be on, that would be helpful. And then let's do one more question before we move on. So when you change the order date from years to months, does the graph show the sales sum for 1 year or sum of sales for all years?
Yeah, that's a really good question. So right now what it's showing, it's for all the different years, how the sales look like for January. And we can see now, we can see kind of the seasonality as well, where at the end of the year, we have more sales. But if we change it to a continuous month, like so, now we can see it's broken down based on our different years. So we can see how things have changed over time. Yeah,
Perfect.
let's just use this one. Okay, so we're gonna carry on with the next chart that we're gonna create. And so if you wanna just open a new worksheet, just click on the new worksheet button here at the bottom. And next, we're gonna create a bar chart. Okay, and to create a bar chart, what we want to do is just pick. First, we need to get a specific field that we want. And I'm going to use my sub category. So within your product, just want to grab your subcategories, and we're going to place it in our rows. So we right click and drag it within our rows. And we can see because it's a blue field, we're getting some headers. The reason why I'm putting it out is because if you want to get really good at Tableau, it's really important to understand the difference between the blue field and the green field, because it will allow you to know how to create different charts. And so I have my blue field. I know these are going to be headers, but then I want to see my sum of sales for my different subcategories. And so I'm just going to bring in my sum of sales. And so to do that, can just click and drag it to my columns. And now I'm getting a graph, but it's kind of hard to see when I look at it to see the first, what's by best subcategory, who is doing the best with cells. And so it's good practice to sort your bar charts. And Tableau makes it really easy to sort from the biggest value to the lowest value. So I just want you to look at the very top where we have this icon, the sorting bar icon, and I just want you to click on it. And now magically my chart is sorted, and I can see that phones is one of the best categories. So then I can also make my visual a little bit bigger. And to do that, just want you to click on, if you see where you have standard, you have this little arrow and you can just click on it and then go to entire view. And now we can see a little bit better our bar chart. Then something else that we can do here again as well, we can remove the default formatting by just clicking on the right and then format. Then we want to go to lines and just click none, like so. And now we got rid of those lines that we don't need. And I can also remove my title here. So again, just left click, edit axis, and then can remove our cells like that. And we can do the same for subcategory here. And just right click and then hide field label. Okay, so now I've made my bar chart. Something that we could do just in terms of the design, if we wanted to play a little bit, instead of having the numbers within our axis, we could just add them just next to our bar. And so to do that, we can just click on our cells. So we just want to go back where we have our cells and then drag it to label, like so. And now we have our numbers just next to our bar. But it's not really nice to have double encoding because now we have our axis and we have our numbers here. So we can also just remove our axis here. And to do that, I can go to my sum of cells within columns and click on the little arrow. And then I just want to uncheck show headers, like so. Nice. So I have my bar chart. Another thing that I can do, I could actually format those numbers. And I can just go to sum of cells, click on the little arrow, then go to format. So I've clicked on the sum of cells within my marks card, on the little arrow, then format. And then where there is default, I want to go to numbers and change those numbers to number customs. And you can edit it as you want. I'm just going to remove the decimal places. And I'm going to change this display unit to thousands. So you can remove the decimal places and change the display units. Okay, nice. So I can close my formatting here. And here we go. So now we have our nicely formatted bar chart. But we could also add some colors again. So because it's quantitative data, I can just drag my summer cells to colors. And because I'm using my continuous fields, the default formatting in terms of colors is having a gradient like this, which works well with quantitative data. And I can change the color again. And to do that, I'm just going to go to where I have this legend. I'm getting a little arrow and I can just click on it and then edit color. And once I have my pop-up open, I can click here on the color and I can change it to a specific color that I want. And I'm just going to use a specific color and then I'm going to share the code with you. So we have the code here. It's FA75A6. If you want to use the same pink as me, but if you to use another color as you want. Also, Tableau allows you to pick the color. You could pick the color from your screen if you wanted to, with this nice little color selector as well. Okay, just gonna press OK. And then OK again. And now we have our bar chart. Great. We can also add a title within our graph. And to add a title, where we see bar chart, we can just double click and then we can remove our sheet name and we can call it our cells by, it's our subcategories, not subcategories, like so. And you can see here, we could also pick a specific font that we wanted. So if we wanted to change the font, we can just highlight our what we've written, and we can click on the little arrow, and we could change it, for example, to Trebuchet MS or Time News Roman, or we could leave it to the default Tableau medium or like that. We can also, if we highlight, we can also make it bold, italic, or like this. We can also change the color of our title. So for example, I could make my cells by highlighting, I could make it like pink, like so. So I'm just going to leave it in black. Like this. And we can also, if you want, you can also center a line, your title, like that. And once you're done with it, you can just press OK. Like so. Okay. Do we have any question on the bar charts?
We do. Before we go to those, we're getting a few people who aren't understanding quite how to follow along with you with creating the charts. Can you maybe show us how to do that going into the link that we shared with everyone?
So to create those charts, you need to have Tableau desktop. And so you need to download Tableau desktop first, and then you can open the sample superstore and then create these bar charts. So don't worry, we have a recording as well, and it's just good practice to watch along. But when you have the time, just make sure that you have downloaded Tableau desktop, and then also just use sample superstore.
Okay, and I am going to predict a question here because I have a feeling it will come up. Where can people download the Tableau desktop?
Yeah, no problem. I can quickly show you. So thanks. If we have to go to Tableau, so if we Tableau desktop, should have the ability to just somewhere in the website, yes, start free trial. And you can also download the public version. So if we go to here, you can download, you can also download Tableau Public, and then you'll have access to essentially the same desktop that I have. Does that
Okay,
make
and
sense?
is there a difference between Tableau Public and just the regular desktop?
Yeah, so Tableau Desktop, so it's the paid version, and that's mostly used by companies, but there is a free version that has almost all the capabilities. And with Tableau Public, essentially, you have the ability to share your work with the community of Tableau. The difference is if you're using Tableau Desktop, then you can save your work, for example, to your server. But if you're using Tableau Public, then whenever you're saving your work, it's saved to Tableau Public and everyone can have access to it.
So it sounds like the main difference is one is public, one is private.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, okay. That makes a lot of sense in the name as well. So Anita, I hope that made sense. Going into a few questions, there was one person and they wanted to know, how do you select the kind of plot you want to draw again?
Yeah, okay, so we have the so also Tableau kind of knows, sometimes can guess what chart you're trying to achieve. So for example, if I remove my fields, because I'm using, for example, subcategory, which is a blue field, and I'm gonna get some headers, and then I'm bringing some of cells. Tableau already knows that I'm trying to build a bar chart, but I can also change that. So, and it's gonna be here where I could make it a line chart or an area chart or so on. But I have to make sure that it's in the right format, which is not right now. So for a bar chart, you're gonna know that you need a blue field on your rows and a continuous field on your columns. And you wanna make sure that within your marks card, you have bar charts selected.
Okay. And the next question I think is technically about um, the the line graph that we did, but I think it could also potentially apply to a bar chart. But this person just wants to know how you can take out the axis on the left side. So with the line graph, we took out the axis that was on the right. Can we also take out the axis on the left, and how can we do that?
Yeah. Okay. So if we just go back, we just want to click on left, and then whenever we have show header, we can just remove it like that.
All right, so left click and show header.
Yeah, and uncheck show header. But I think it's good to have some. It depends when you want to create. If it's just to create, you just want to look at the pattern and you don't care too much about the numbers, but it's always good to have some kind of reference so the people know, okay, yeah, it's 350,000 almost. So it's good to have some type of reference, but again, it depends on what you want to create.
Okay, and then Amit wants to know if you can create something that's for a bit more of a complex table selection, like the one you would get from a SQL query. I am not sure if we're going to have time to do that today, and I'm not sure also if it's already prearranged in your plans today. But maybe we can have a follow-up
Yeah,
about
I
something
think,
more complex. Or if you
yeah,
already have like a video that is of something that's more complex, maybe we can just share that.
yeah, I think I have some, I can definitely share my Tableau public profile where I have more advanced stuff.
Mhm.
And maybe if we have time, we can have a look at towards the end so I can show you
Sure.
some example that use a little bit more so you can, because you can with Tableau you can add interactivity,
Mhm.
and yeah, that can make your charts way more powerful.
Okay, sounds good. And then last question, and Ruby, it looks like you had a follow-up to it. So how do you build? Okay, so how do you build headers if you don't have them in your data?
Yes, there are different ways to do it. You could okay, because right now we don't have the dashboard tab open,
Mhm.
but essentially I'm just gonna open a new tab, and you can just double click, and let's say you wanted to write cells, you can then kind of add it this way. But you could also, for example, when I'll show you how you can do that when we are within the dashboard tab.
Sounds good. All right, and that's it. And I think we can continue now.
Okay, great. Um, so the next thing we want to do is to have a look at maps, how to create a map in Tableau. And we just want to click again on new worksheet, and we're just going to call it map. And Tableau makes it really easy to create a map, because the only thing we have to do first is to double click on state. So where we have state, we just want to double click on it like so, and boom, we have a map. And if you didn't get, if you have like me, you have those little circles, you can go to automatic and then go to map. And now we can see we have our map for our different states. And we can break it down by cells again. So if we click, we can drag our summer cells to colors like so. And now we can see where we have the best cells is in California and in New York as well. And again, we can format this map, and to format it, we can go at the top. So if you go at the top, you'll see that you have map, and we can just click on map and then click on map layers. And so I just want to show you how you can format this map to make it a little bit cleaner, since we already have our states. So we can just wash out the background to 100% like this. And now we can really just focus on the different state that we have. I'm just going to close my map layers like this. And I can also change the color again. So again, you can just click on the little arrow, edit color, and then pick the color that we want. So I'm using my FA75A6, but you feel free to use the color that you want based on your preference. And then we can press OK. And now we have our map. And what we can do is then remove those borders. And so we can go to colors. We can go to colors and then just remove the colors like that. Go to borders, none, and also for the yellow. Or we could actually just have like a gray color so we can see the differences between our states. Just click on borders and put some gray color. And yeah, now we have our map. But I also just want to show you some of the map capabilities. So if we go to map and then go to map layers, and so you don't have to follow along for this part. I just want to show you some example of what we're getting inside of Tableau. And I'm just going to go to satellite. And if I move around the world, maybe let's go here. And if I start zooming in, so Tableau allows you to see really nice details, which is sort of cool. But we can also have, we have different map capabilities within Tableau. So if I zoom out, there is outdoors, street map, and then dark mode, and so on. But for today, we don't need it. And if you want to, sometimes when you move your map, it might not look right. You can just click on the unpin button here and it will look good again. Okay, so we've made our line chart, bar chart, and map. So next, I'm gonna open the dashboard type. And so this is where we can create a dashboard. So a dashboard is a collection of different sheets that we can create within Tableau. And so right now it's set to default. We also have the phone version, but that's not typically used, so we can delete the phone layout. And we can also play around with the sizing. So we have now our desktop is set to 1000 width and height is set to 800, but we can make it a little bit larger and also taller if you wanted to. But I think we don't have a lot of information to share we only have 3 charts, so I think the sizing is fine. Then at the bottom we have our different objects. So we have, for example, we can add text, we can add images, we can also add a web page within Tableau and so on. So let's create a dashboard, just a basic dashboard. And so I'm just going to drag the line chart. So I'm not going to get into the containers today because we're not using a lot of worksheets. So we can just drag and drop our different charts. So I'm just clicking and drag it, and I'm getting this gray area, and I can just drag it within my visualization like this, and maybe make and to add a text, we can just drag the text and put it at the very top like that. And we can call, for example, our dashboard analytics. And for the title, we can make it a little bit bigger and change it. So I'm going a little bit faster now because I'm just aware of time. But now we have added our title. And then we can play around with the sizing. So for example, we can make it a bit, change the width, change the sizing for our map at the bottom. We can also, for example, format here our line chart. If we click on format, because the dates at the moment are not, we can't really see them. So we can click on format and then change the date to first letter only, like that. Now it will look a little bit better. Okay, so we've made a simple visualization, but if we had more time, this is what we could have created. So this is a visualization I created. So we've done the line charts, the bar charts, and the map. And I can also show you more examples of visualization. So if we go to Tableau Public, it's actually Tableau Public. Here we go. And if we type my name, so this is my Tableau Public page where you can see all the different visualization I've made. And if you wanted to see an example of something a little bit more interactive, this is a visualization I've made where you can pick. It's still with the same data set that we used today, but you can pick for the different region. You can see the cells, and we can change it to a bar chart, for example. And you can also make more complex business dashboards as well, or even a little bit more creative. You can add images within your visualization and make really cool dashboards. So thank you very much, everyone. Do we have any other questions?
We do, and before we get into those, I want to let everybody know that we're releasing the certificate of attendance form. So make sure you fill it out. We will paste it a couple of times, so if you miss it the first time, it will be posted again. And then Irene, I would like to take over the screen for a minute. I just want to show our webinar for next week, because I know if I don't do it now, we probably won't do it later. So I just want to show next week we will have, and maybe I can get my screen. There we go. We will have Kristen. And Kristen, I am going to apologize in advance. I am going to butcher your last name. I think Kristen Kirhir, for an effective data storytelling as a data scientist in industry. So that kind of goes pretty well with our Tableau crash course today. But we're going to look at things like using complicated diagrams and including outputs of coefficients. So if you want to really go into the data storytelling part of the visualization, make sure to show us, or make sure to show up next week. It's at 12 noon Pacific on August 3rd, which is a week from today, just a little later in the day. And you can find that by just going to our website and clicking, filling out the form here and clicking submit. All right, Irene. So I'll give it back to you. We'll stop the share. Irene, I think if you pull up your profile again, that's probably good for people to see, to make sure that they can get to that. And then we do have a couple of questions, so let me know when you're ready and I will spit them out.
Yeah, sure. So you can have a look at my Tableau public profile, but I'm also available on Twitter. So Irene Daomi, or LinkedIn if you have any question. But yeah, let's carry on with the questions.
Perfect. So the first one is from Anita, and Anita is asking, will all visualizations auto adjust to the page size?
So with Tableau, that is why it's important to use what we call containers, and specifically tiled containers. So if I show you an example, so with this visual, I use what we called tiled containers, and even if we stretch it, it's still gonna look nice. But if we take, for example, this visualization, so I'm using the floating methods. And sometimes with floating methods, what happens is if I stretch my screen, so if I try to, for example, make it a little bit bigger, okay, it looks still nice. But essentially, if you're using different type of containers, if you're using floating containers, sometimes your graphs or some information might move around when you have a bigger screen. So that's why it's important to learn how to use tile containers, and a good resources for that You can have a look at Andy Kribel. I'm just gonna write it down. Yeah, I'm just gonna share it to everyone. But Andy Kribel video on tile containers, because it's quite important. So that your dashboard doesn't move around when you're like researching or having a bigger screen.
Okay, and then this one is from Ruby. If you delete the sheets in your that we've been working on, will the charts on your dashboard be removed too?
Yes, exactly.
Okay, and then uh, I'm just gonna go right into Ruby's follow-up question. If your underlying data set refreshes, will the dashboard automatically update, or do you have to refresh the dashboard also?
So it depends how it's connected. So if it's on server, so if your data is refreshing and you're on server, so every time, for example, you're just refreshing the page, it will show up. But then it depends on how you're connected, how you connect the data. Is it the data is within a server? Are you using Google Sheets? Yeah, it might depend case by case, but you can schedule a refresh on Tableau server, for example, or you can just make sure that you're using refresh data. Yeah, it might depend.
Yeah, it sounds like it kind of depends just based off of how you're importing your data.
Yeah.
Okay, and let me just, there's new messages. So, okay, there was a question in the chat that I'm trying to locate. Okay, can you talk a bit about Tableau integration with Inquisit or Qualtrics? And Inquisit is an experiment design program. So I don't know if you have any
No,
experience with that.
sorry, I don't, I
Okay.
couldn't.
Okay, so we're gonna skip that one then. Okay, so we're gonna come back to Kosi's question, which was asked at the very start. So how should we choose the type of chart to build in the dashboard? Should we rely purely on the aesthetics, or should we prefer a specific type of chart for specific data?
So yeah, I think it's important to look into best practices, and there is a nice visualization actually. Again, Andy Kribel is one of the OG and one of the best user. Is also the one of the coach at the data school and information lab where I work, and he made the if we have a look, he made the visual vocabulary, which essentially is a guide that can help you pick the chart that works best for your data. So if you're talking about deviation, ranking, and so on, you can have a look at the type of chart that you can use. There are also some other guides out there, but yeah, I think it's especially if you're building for the business world, and it's really important to look into best practices. But then Tableau Public is also a place where, for example, here you can see there's a discovery page where we select the best Vs of the day every day. And some of the Vs might not be best practice because people are trying to experiment and look into design. So I think in the business world, try to, to stay within best practice. But if you want to be creative and try different things, go for it, especially on Tableau Public. It's a great place to just experiment.
Okay, and because we're over time, I'm only going to ask one more question because I think this is a relatively quick one you can answer. Can we include Tableau dashboard charts on a website dashboard? So can we like embed them somewhere other than within Tableau?
Yes. So there is actually even your Tableau public dashboards. So if we go back, yeah, so you'll notice that there is here like a share button, and you have the embed code for your dashboard.
Perfect. Easy. I like easy.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you, Irene. And I'm sorry, everyone, we weren't able to get through all the questions. But Irene, thank you for being here with us today. And thank you all for joining. Like I mentioned, the certificate form has been shared. So you should have had plenty of time to fill that out. Next week, effective data storytelling as a data scientist in industry will be happening at 12 noon Pacific on August 3rd. So make sure to either RSVP for that on our website or join us on one of our live streams. Again, Irene, thank you so much for sharing your knowledge with us today. And everyone, thank you for being here. I hope everyone has a good rest of their day.
Thank you, Nathan. Have a great day, everyone.
Thank you.